real success stories told by the people who lived them.
We're going to have some guests on this show that everybody knows, and we're going to have guests on this show that nobody knows yet.
One by one, Nick Hyder is adding hits to the hit streak.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hit Streak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. And folks, I've got a very, very, very special treat for you joining me in the Hit Lab today. He is the founder of Real Branding, which is a video marketing agency who works with entrepreneurs, influencers, and thought leaders such as the real Brad Lea, Jessie Lee Ward, Gabby Bernstein, myself, and countless others. All right. His agency has generated hundreds of millions of views for his clients across all digital platforms. Folks, this is a very, very, very important topic that we're talking about today, for especially when it comes to the growth of your personal brand and your businesses, right? Folks, help me welcome the founder of Real Branding, Mr. Cole Thurman. How we doing, Cole?
Doing good, brother. As you mentioned, I've been working on your content for a long time, and it's good to actually be here in person to see it. Got a phenomenal setup. Well lit, professional. I love it, and we're going to dive into that.
That's the first hit of the day right there, baby. Come on now. So we refer to you around here. You're like you've heard it a million times. Your dad said it. We've said it. It's been said over all the time. You know, man, to be a fly on the wall. The information that we would get. You are the ultimate. Like, if Superman was a fly, you would be him, right? You are the ultimate fly on the wall. What do I mean by that?
Well, in the line of work that I do, I have access to, as you mentioned, I work with several major influencers, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and, I have access to all of their footage. I've spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours at this point, reviewing their content, finding the clips, seeing what looks good, what doesn't. And as we mentioned earlier, I have probably received an education that's worth multi millions of dollars.
So when you say you watch footage, like, there is more times than not, I'm usually wearing a lapel mic, and there's a camera that's on me, just being me, just going about my day, being a dad, being a husband, being a business leader, whatever it might be, coaching baseball practice, right? And you're the guy that goes back and sorts through all that raw footage and find those clips that we see on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and all those other platforms, right?
That's right. Yeah. So what I do is I'll go through the footage, and what I think in my mind is, what would someone like to see? Okay. So I like to follow people like Brad Lea, like yourself, like many other influencers. And I ask myself, okay, what are the videos that I see that I really like and that I engage with? And basically I go through their content and I try to find, similar things. And basically what I do is I say I look for the gold. Okay. So some people, the gold is easier to find than others, right? For example, if I watch some of your content, it's spitting gold, right? And then another piece of content, you might be in a business meeting. Well, there might not be a ton of gold in there, but I do pay attention for the little, things in there that we can capture and then ultimately put to social media.
And it's like, so folks, real quick, like, I know the digital, the DMs on my Instagram, I get blown up all day long with people trying to say, hey man, we want to cut content for you. They'll even like give a free sample to throw in there and say, hey, we'd like to do these things for you. And they're trying to get that business. What makes you so important to me, and I'm sure to Brad alike, is like, dude, like, there's some very, very, very sensitive and confidential IP that is caught on camera. And that comes a great responsibility that you have, right? To not just put our best foot forward when you're putting this stuff out to trying to capture us the best that you can, but like when you have access to those, I mean, it's almost like the documents that were found outside of the White House. You know what I'm saying? It's very confidential stuff. So why would you give somebody access to some of the most sensitive information that you have that you don't even know?
Right. It takes a lot of trust, and some people, they trust you right out the gate. Some people have a good intuition about you. And, if you come across in the right way, a lot of people can sense that through their intuition. Hey, this is a trustworthy person. Other people, we will sign some paperwork that basically says, hey, you're not going to destroy me or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's trust. So what it comes down to.
As a matter of fact, like that's something that we value a lot here. And we have this conversation with our 14-year-old son as well. If folks can't trust you, they can't do much with you, you know?
And let me say one more thing. So that trust is extremely, it means a lot to me that these people trust me. And trust me when I tell you, I will never, ever, ever break that trust. I mean, number one, that would just be stupid anyway. Why would you lose a client? But, you know, it's all about trust, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me ask you this. You get to see a side of me that's behind the scenes, just like all the other people we've mentioned. But let's talk. We'll use me for because I can give you permission to do that, right? So, what are some of the things that like what you saw that we were putting out before you became a strategic partner with the Hit Lab here in Nashville? What did you learn most once you started getting that content? Once we had outgrown the team here and needed somebody like you to help us get to the next spot.
Are you asking like what did I learn about working with you?
No, just like me as a person, because like okay. Like that's what I'm saying. It's so important that the people that are cutting your content and putting it out there, like you're very quick at finding the person's voice. We say that all the time. You got to find your voice. That's, your voice is how you how people perceive you. It's just who you are. One of the hardest things to do is take somebody that's really natural at everything to do it, and then you put them on a camera and they're like Ricky Bobby on Talladega Nights. And what do I do with my hands? They get nervous. Dude, you bring the best out of me in so many instances, right? So I'm asking you, what did you learn most based on what you saw on social versus what you saw behind the scenes that was eventually what you started bringing out?
Right. Well, when you're watching someone's content on social media, you get a little bit of an idea about who they are. But once you get, access like I have to, more of the behind the scenes type stuff, you really get to start learning who they are as a person. I think we had that conversation actually like a couple weeks into me cutting your clips. I was like, I'm really starting to get to know this guy, and just understanding your personality and what you're all about, which everything you're about is what I'm about.
It's important to work with like-minded people, right?
100%.
That's fantastic. And it's, folks, you also got to know this too. He's turning down as much business as he's taking in. He's probably turning down 3 times as much as he's taking in because he's very selective with the clients that he chooses, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I have someone right now who's literally trying to send me money on Venmo, and I don't want to take it because, quite frankly, I just don't want to work with the person.
Right.
But now, if you would ask me like 2 years ago, I said, yeah, send it on. But you get to a point where a great point to be at is when you can turn people down and you get to work with the people that you only want to work with.
Right. And I have a suggestion. Let's see what you think about this. For everybody that's trying to get into this space. So we did everything in-house. As a matter of fact, I was posting all the videos myself for quite some time until it made no sense to do that because the time that I got back, I was able to reinvest, which turned into more production. So, but I was able to appreciate what it is that you do because I did know how much work and time went into it, right? So I would always tell everybody to try to post a few on your own consistently. Try to do it for as little as 30 days and watch how hard it is, especially one time a day don't cut it, right? You need double that or even 4 times that the more the merrier in my opinion, right? But once that happens, if you're posting one clip, first of all, you got to make that clip, right? And caption it, edit it, basically master it. But then just posting it across all the 6 to 8 top platforms, like multiple times a day, is time consuming.
It takes time. It takes time. That's the number one thing that people underestimate about this whole thing is just the amount of time that it takes. Just literally getting on Facebook, getting on Instagram, writing a thought compelling caption. It all just takes time, and you don't realize how much time it takes because it might be 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, but you add all that up and it just takes a lot of time. And quite honestly, I think that's the reason most people get started working on their personal brand and they end up quitting. And most people quit for, they quit one day it's just like working out. You quit one day and it's harder to get back started again.
That's right. That's a great point. We all struggle with it. If you go on a diet, nutrition change, or even a physical workout regimen, like when you miss a day, it's almost like, well, I missed one, I can miss one more, and it gets harder and harder to get back into it, doesn't it?
Right.
Your days off have to be planned. They have to be a part of the program.
Yep. It takes intentionality is the thing, is you have to be intentional about it. And, what I commend you on is you guys are we're all very well organized in what we're going to do, what time we're going to make a post, what we're going to, say on it. And if you're not planning that, it's so easy for that to just fall through the cracks.
Folks, he works 365 days a year for old Nick, right? He's Christmas, New Year's, it doesn't matter, multiple times a day. Christmas Day is just another day in our world when it comes to posting, right? Obviously, Christmas is extra special to us, but again, people are on their phones. We have a chance to make a change. I want to reach those people. I want to help those people. So Christmas Day is a day that we're posting the same amount of content that we post on, I don't know, July 20th or whatever today is, So it's great to have access to a company like Real Branding that can get it done 365 days a year.
And I think that's very important. The point that you just made is a lot of people during Christmas time, holidays, anything like that, most people kind of take their foot off the gas. But I think if you're posting on Christmas and you guys do a very good job with the themes and the Santa hats and all that stuff, people notice that stuff.
Yeah.
Like when they see you during Christmas time with the Santa hats and all the other stuff, subconsciously, I believe the viewer sees that and goes, wow, these people are actually they take this very serious. So they want to be a part of whatever it is that you're doing or have to offer.
That's right. It's also cool. Like the same trends in these things are working for all these different types of brands, even though you're looking for each individual's voice and the message that they care about, So like me personally, my faith and my family are top priorities for me in my life. And they may not be for some of the other brands that you work with. They may not even be married or have kids, So you literally got to know these people to be able to put those people's best foot forward, but all the time, every single day, multiple times a day.
Right. Yeah. That's the power of the personal brand is you really do get to know people. And it's crazy because, you may not actually know them, but you get to know them. You get to, I've never met your son before. I feel like I know almost everything about him, right? Sure, there's a lot I don't know, but that's just the power of it. And as we talked about earlier, more and more people now are doing business with personal brands. Like if you're selling a product, people want to get that from a person now representing that product as opposed to, going to the company. And that's how people find out about products is through individual people.
It's almost like the old world of celebrity endorsements is just now it's anybody and everybody, right? Anybody that can be a trusted source or has a great outreach or a large audience. A personal brand, those are people that can put power behind things.
And I want people to also recognize that when they think of personal brand, they think they have to be as we were talking about earlier, they think they have to be like The Rock or they have to be some, Kim Kardashian or something. Mm-hmm. You can literally on Instagram have a few thousand followers and have a very strong personal brand as long as you're building those relationships with your people, with your audience. It's said, they supposedly they do these analytics how much, all your followers are worth or whatever on Instagram. And what they say is 100 raving fans, meaning these are the people that they share your posts, they comment, they're always there. 100 raving fans is more powerful than say 100,000 kind of wishy-washy. They don't really watch your stuff. So it's all about getting those people that are what you would consider to be raving fans who live and breathe for your content.
So working with some of these top thought leaders, influencers, and entrepreneurs, we have a lot of conversations about things that I would like to see, or asking for suggestions for the future stuff. How can we, because like, look, you're a little bit handcuffed by, whoever was holding the camera that was shooting these people. If the audio quality's bad, if the lighting's bad, if the framing's bad, it makes your job really, really hard, if not impossible. Right. So we have a lot of conversations. You have the same conversations with all of your clients. What are some of the top similarities, the most consistent things that we all have in common that we're saying to you, or that the advice you're giving us? Because it's probably going to be the same to all of our audience today, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I do get content all the time. Even from some of the biggest names that I work with, the content comes back, and quite honestly, it's trash, just because someone didn't set the camera up right, the lighting's bad, or something like that. So it really, it happens to everyone. So, it's just about making sure that everything looks good, like our setup here. And I want people to understand, I don't want people to feel held back if they don't have all the lights and cameras and stuff like that. It's always better to just get started. But by all means, if you have the means to have all this stuff, it makes a massive, massive difference. Again, I think when people are scrolling on social media and they see the setup, they see the screen, they see everything is well produced, subconsciously, I believe that makes a big impact on the viewer.
I want to thank all of our loyal fans that spread across all 50 states and 14 different countries. It's absolutely amazing. Folks, help us keep spreading the word, right? Share your favorite episodes with friends, and make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the Hitstreak on all digital platforms. Thanks again, and we look forward to more. Let me ask you this. So one of the most common things, and this is, so years and years ago, a little over a decade ago, I started my first my first insurance agency, right? And like every other small business, I didn't have a marketing budget. So it was all DIY, DIY, do it yourself, right? And so now I'm using tripods and Bluetooth buttons to start and stop the camera. I had the best lighting I could afford at the time. Daylight's great light too, by the way. So I'm posting it and I'm going along, and no matter what I figured out was, when I said that we couldn't afford to do it, we figured out that we couldn't afford not to do it. That was the catch. We had to just change our perspective. And the moment that we finally made the commitment, it's a commitment. It's not something you can do once or twice and then stop. It's just like anything else. The lesson I learned is it's a minimum of 12 months. You put your head down, you don't look up for 12 months, and then you figure out where you're at. You can make adjustments along the way, but you can't stop for at least 12 months. So don't, start and don't stop for 12 months. Brad told me, he was the guy that got me into video in, it was not that long ago, it was 2020. Yeah. And we were doing great with just static images. And he just said, he said basically like, man, like, you got to do video and you got to do a lot of it. He was like, and if you do a lot of it and you do it every single day, 3 to 4 years from now, you'll have something you're proud of that will turn out money for you. It will give you new clients, exposure, and success. We're like, it's 2023, so I'm about 3.5 years in. He was right.
Right. Well, that's one thing I heard a long time ago is a picture is worth 1,000 words, but a video is worth 1,000 pictures.
Say that again. That's a good one.
A picture is worth 1,000 words, but a video is worth 1,000 pictures. I mean, if you really think about it, if I see a static image of Nick, even though he is a strapping, handsome man, okay, I don't really get to know Nick through a picture. Yeah, he's sharp dressed, he looks good and all that stuff, but it's really when you start talking, when I get to know more about who you are and what you believe and what you're all about, that's when you really get to know people. And I think the main thing that you hit on was consistency. You said you were going to put your head down for 12 months or whatever it is that you said. And that's what it's all about. It's consistency. If you pay attention to Nick's channel, it's every day. He's beating you over the head. Same with Brad. Same with all my other clients. They just show up every single day. You can't miss.
We haven't missed a day in years. And guys, there's been deaths. There's been vacations. There's been sicknesses. Everything. Life happens.
The show goes on.
That's right.
You got to show up. Show up every day, regardless how you feel.
The coolest thing, and this happens a lot too. People come to me and say, "Hey, Nick, that video you posted," and a lot of times, like the first time I see it is when it's online. You know what I mean? Like, and that was from in the world of insurance, which is very regulated. There's a lot of like compliance is a big thing. So like, folks, when I handed this off to somebody, I had to have a lot of trust with them because literally, like the whole if you lose your insurance license, you can't make money doing it anymore. And everybody knows that that was how we put our flag in the ground and grew. That was the foundation of everything. And it still is a huge part of our success today. So like, it was extremely nerve wracking to figure out like, how can we trust these people to know that like, they're not going to get us in trouble or do anything illegal. And Cole, like, that was a great experience, but like, it's so neat when people are like, "Hey, that video you posted, I love it." I'm like, I don't even know which one they're talking about. Or like, I'll be sitting there talking to somebody and look at the phone like,
right,
you just posted.
Right. Yeah. And then again, it comes back to the trust thing. So I believe still that some of the best, if not the best form of advertising or marketing is word of mouth. So when I first got started, because I can reach out to people all day. You get DMs all the time. I know that you do. And I still do that from time to time. But, I can ask people, hey, I'd love to earn your business. I'd love to work with you, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as someone tells someone else, hey, you should work with this guy, it's almost, I don't even have to sell the person.
Right.
Just because someone else told them about me. So, and that comes with the trust. You have no idea. I have access to some pretty powerful people's social media. Like I can get in their DMs.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I was going to say.
But here's the thing is, I don't, unless they go ahead and they say, yeah, sure, go ahead. But they trust me. And it's with that trust where the referrals come from.
You can't lock them out of the inbox in the social. Like, you got to have access to the platform to post, to distribute it.
Right.
Which means you get all access to the posts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, if I was doing things behind my wife's back, there's at least one person that would know because you would see it. Right. So like, it's incredibly important. And all you guys that keep hitting me up every day saying, hey, your channel could be so much better or this and that and so on and so forth. Like, the guys that are doing it for me that I love, they see those things too, man. So like, you should know that. You should know that. If you're good at what you do, you should know that.
Yeah. Hey, or if you're looking for a part-time job, maybe we'll have something open for you sometime.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Here's one thing I've learned is there's enough for everyone to go around. Okay. There's too many people out there with a scarcity mindset. All right. There's two ways to build the tallest tower in town. One is you can tear everyone else down, or you can just build the tallest tower. And that's very important to remember. There's enough for everybody. There's no reason to, tear people down.
Absolutely. So before we get into, who you are, because again, the access you've had over the last few years to all these brilliant minds, you learn a lot too. It's like, again, being the fly on the wall is like one of the ultimate strategies and power positions to grow as a person. Right. So, but before we do that, let's talk a little bit about, most people just don't get started because of fear or the unknown or both. So like, let's talk about, some of the things that beginners should be trying to figure out and get going, because you got to get started to be able to get to somebody like you. That's when it really turns up the, as my, the late Farrell Owens used to say all the time, he used to say, now we're cooking with gas. You know what I mean? When you get to Cole, now you're cooking with gas. All right. So let's talk about how they get there.
Well, I think the number one thing people need to do is just get out of their own way. And I think the biggest thing that holds people back from getting started in the first place is they care too much about what other people think. They think they're going to look stupid. Oh, my mother-in-law is going to think I'm doing something weird or something like that. And I have a rule with myself, because at the end of the day, we all have some insecurities. I don't care who you are. The rule that I have with myself is if I post something, or if I'm getting ready to post a video or something on my story, right before you hit post and you kind of think to yourself like, this is kind of stupid. What are they going to think? If I ever have those thoughts, my rule is I have to post it, because I am not going to let what other people think influence my decisions.
I love that.
So people just need to get out of their own way, and they just need to, as you talked about, be consistent. And if you have the budget, if you have the means to send your footage, send your work to, our agency, we can chop it up and make it look good, make it look professional, and make you stand out amongst the crowd. And to be quite honest, there's a lot of big players out there that their content doesn't look very good. Now, there's a lot of really good stuff out there, but I know people making tens of millions of dollars, and their content just doesn't look good. So back to what I was talking about, there's opportunity everywhere. And trust me when I tell you, I'm trying to seize as much of that as possible. But anyone that's looking to do something like this, it's very simple. You just got to put yourself out there.
I love that. And, one of the ways to be consistent, if you decide you're going to, work out, which, by the way, folks, if consistency is something that you constantly struggle with, if January 15th of every year you've already lost all your failed at your New Year's resolutions, then take a different tactic with this. But it has to be a part of your day. So if posting digital content, filming digital content, it needs to be on your schedule. You know what I'm saying? You have to make time to do it. And it needs to be intentional when you do it, right? So obviously, if you're a one-man show and you're shooting this stuff on your own to get started and you're posting it, doing everything else, for me, it was like an hour. It was about an hour per clip minimum when I got started. If I want to do 2 a day, it was 2 hours because I had to shoot it, I had to edit it, I had to caption it, subtitle it, and post it. You know what I'm saying? And that took some time across, because we call them the Big Six, which now I want to get your take on Threads here soon as well, because that just came out as well. I posted my first thread this morning.
There you go.
Yeah, man. So, making time to do it, like you post at almost the exact same times every single day for us, because those are when we get some of the top performance, right? We study that stuff. And you know what? Some days I'm in a meeting or at my kids' play or ball game or whatever. Life happens. So again, I had to make a choice at some point in time where if I'm really going to take this to the next level, somebody's got to be there to help me take it with me, right? So I had to have a partner.
Yeah, you have to have a team. I mean, if you're really going to take it serious, it gets to a certain point where it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for Nick Hyder or for Brad Lea or for Jessie Lee, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for you to be. I mean, your time's literally more valuable than that, which is why we have a team of people to help push that out for you. So it's just a smart business decision to outsource that out to a trusted source.
A wise man once told me, one of the biggest mistakes a chef can make when they start their business is go to the office, close the door, and start doing QuickBooks and menu design and everything else. What makes the chef great is the magic they create in the kitchen. You don't take the chef out of the kitchen.
That's right.
And that's where I came to that point that I came to. It was like, man, I got to get back out in the field where I'm the best, right? And not editing videos and posting videos. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just making the most out of your time, right? Like, we're all busy, and that's what we're here for.
All right. Well, let's get to know the man just a little bit. So you got 3 kids. How old are they?
The oldest is 5, and the youngest 2 are 3. They are twins. That's right.
Twins. A gift that keeps on giving.
That's right.
Right. You're a good dad. A lot of our conversations, you're like me. You're usually with your kids when we're having conversations. Like, I've been playing catch out at my house with the Bluetooth earpiece, AirPod in, and I'm playing catch with my kid while we're having a business conversation. And your kids are right with you too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm probably not your typical male or man, I guess you would say. I think that I do post a lot about my kids. They're in all my stories. They're in a lot of my posts, and they're just extremely important to me, as I know yours are to you. And yeah, they're the most important thing to me, and I just think it's incredible. I mean, I don't know. I am just amazed when, I look at my kids and I think, wow, this, I helped create this, which we all know where it all comes from. Right. But it's just, it's a blessing, and they're around me a lot. And I think one of the first conversations we had, I had screaming kids in the background. And I think I was apologizing for it or something, and you were like, "Hey, that's the best sound in the world," and you're 100% correct. And quite honestly, if I'm on a phone call with a client or someone I want to work with, and they are bothered by that. Now, I don't, I try to go to another room or something like that where it's quiet, but you're going to hear a kid scream occasionally. If someone has a problem with that, quite honestly, I don't want to work with you because we're not going to be aligned.
Right.
Because as we talk about all the time, children are a gift, man. I think there's a big problem in society today that wants to bash kids and bash children. And, we wouldn't be here if, it weren't for kids. Because we were all kids at one point. So I love my kids, and I'm sure you can tell that.
Absolutely. Again, that's a great point you made, that you need to work with people that align with you, your values, especially. And if they don't align with you in faith, eventually there's going to become a crossroad. And that's not necessarily something you want to have to face a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road when you've got all this momentum and have to make a change of great magnitude, right? So it's very important to get to know your people and all those things. So all the guys that, I'm sure some of the people from other countries that are in my DMs saying, "Hey man, I'd love to work with you," and so on and so forth. I'm sure you're great people, but I don't know you. I don't know that. I don't trust you, and I definitely don't want you to have access to some of my most sensitive, data and content.
Yeah, and look, I respect those guys. I mean, they're out there hustling, and like I said, I mean, I'm more than happy to talk to anybody. Because at some point in time, we're going to grow and scale and all that stuff. But obviously, I would have to have their trust as well. But again, it comes down to trust and
the relationships.
Absolutely. Trust me when I tell you guys, I would not be here if it wasn't for relationships. None of us would be sitting here if it wasn't for the relationships that we have.
I found out about you through Brad.
Yeah. And I mean, so I got started with him, and literally everything, kind of snowballed after that because of that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important here's just a good bit of advice in general. Be a good person. Just be a good human being. And, you may not see the fruits of that, but eventually, at the end of the day, I can tell you guys something right now. No one can say that Cole Thurman is a mean, rude, nasty guy. There's not one single person that can say that. And if they say that, they either don't know me or they're straight up lying. Okay.
That's right. The Hitstreak is powered by our partners at HitLab Creative Studios. Whether it's launching your brand new podcast, rebranding your current podcast, or taking advantage of any of their other content packages specifically for your social media needs, the HitLab is a one-stop shop for you. Visit hitlabstudio.com for more. Well, outside of being a father, there's some things that all of your clients have in common, right? Everybody is working on their mental and their physical fitness. They're always trying to improve. They all have great relationships. They all have a winning mindset. They're all disciplined. They're all consistent. They're all motivated, right? You get to it. It would be so neat to just kind of if you could just sit in a dark room and all around you is just all these people's content, all the footage you have accumulated over the last years. It would almost be overwhelming because you couldn't make sense of everything. But there's so much gold, like the education you mentioned before. Let's talk a little bit about that, because all these people have so many things in common. And Cole, I used to think that I was the exception and I didn't have to have those things in common, and I'm not. All right. Yeah. I'm not. Nobody is. And there's certain things that to have true success in anything, all the successful people are going to have in common. Every single house has a foundation, or else it's not standing very long. You know what I mean?
That's right.
What do all these people have in common?
Well, like we always say, success leaves clues. So if you look at these people, they may be doing different things, but they all have common denominators. And that's one of the best parts about what I do, is that I'm almost forced to level up. You can't help but change when you hear this type of information. So again, what you put in is what you get out. So fortunately, with what I do, I get to receive a lot of good information all day long. But every one of these people that are successful that I work with, number one, they all have an insane amount of gratitude. They're all very grateful people. they all work on themselves. They all take time to read, to listen to podcasts. They're always working on growth because you're either growing or you're dying.
I agree with that too. Like what lessons have you learned about when so you had to start your business at some point? You went from being like just a guy that handled some stuff, had some clients, to you've turned it into actual business, right? Like I want two questions. What impact have you seen video marketing have on your clients? And the second one is what have you learned in starting and running your own business based on what you learned from those people?
Well, the impact that video marketing has had on my clients has been absolutely massive. I mean, we have created videos that have gone viral with 1 million. I mean, if I don't create at least one video a week that gets 1 million views, it's a bad week. And that usually happens at least every single week. We get some type of a viral video. I've made videos that have gotten 25, actually I think one got up to 29 million views. That was a video for Brad. But it's been absolutely massive. And I hear people talk to Brad all the time and they say, hey, I saw you on TikTok. So it's absolutely massive. There's never been a better time to build your personal brand, especially with the whole virality thing, because, Instagram now is catching up with TikTok with their reels. And, there's just never been a better time to put yourself out there and to become known and almost celebritize yourself, become like a micro influencer. Lessons that I've learned in running a business. Boy, I could write a book on what not to do.
That's how you learn.
Yeah. It's a lot, and when I started out, it was pretty much kind of like a freelancing type deal. I was just doing it for one person, and then it led to another person, and it's like, oh boy, we're making some money here. I guess I'm gonna have to like pay taxes and stuff. I guess I better get a bit. I guess I better get like an LLC or something. Of course, that always costs more than you think it's going to cost. Luckily, last year I did buy an expensive pickup truck, which helped with the tax deduction.
Attaboy.
But it's just it's more than you think. And one of the challenges, because I work from home, and one of the challenges with working from home is sometimes we can be a not very good boss of ourselves. So it just requires an extra level of discipline. It requires, being organized, because back when I only had one client, I could wake up and make a video and eat a bowl of cereal, watch it, it just, once you get to a certain amount of clients, it takes a whole lot more responsibility, structuring. And I'll be honest, I've never been an organized person. So for me, that's been challenging. But we're working on that, and we're working on building our team out to, get a better system in place. But, I think I've made almost every mistake you could possibly make in running a business.
Me too.
But, hey, how else do you learn?
That's right. Tell me about the correlations between sports and business.
There's a lot of correlations there. When I was in high school, I was going to say a tri-sport athlete, but I was actually a quad sport athlete. I did track, cross country, baseball, and basketball. And really, sports is where I learned how to win. Sports is where I learned how to, especially on the track. First race I ever ran, because I went to college to do track, but first race I ever ran, I was in 7th grade. Coach said, "What do you want to run?" I said, "I don't know. I guess I'll run the mile." And the reason I picked the mile was because I thought no one else would really want to do it and that I had a good chance to win. Well, it turns out I shot the gun. I just smoked everyone. From that point forward, I was hooked on that. I was hooked on winning. And really, it's where I learned to win, because I was willing to do what nobody else was really, really willing to do.
I agree 100%. And you still use fitness today. Obviously we talk about that a lot, there's no way around it. You see a photo, it's like that guy takes care of himself, and it's intentional, and he does more than most, right? How does that play into your, being able to keep up and do everything you do, man? Because you got to be a dad, you got to be a business owner. You got your own brands and everything else you got going on. I mean, it's all day, every day.
Yeah. Fitness for me is a non-negotiable. It does not matter it doesn't matter if I'm sick. It doesn't matter if I got, it just doesn't matter. It's going to get done. So for me, one of the reasons listen, I'm not saying I'm the most fit person in the world. I'm definitely not going to be winning a, Mr. Olympia contest anytime soon, but I do like to be the most fit person in any room that I walk into. And usually I am, but sometimes I'm not. And guess what? When I'm not, that's okay. That inspires me.
That's right.
But I believe when you walk into a room, and believe it or not, one of the reasons I want to be fit is actually for business.
Right.
Because when you walk into a room and you see someone that is fit, that individual must be disciplined, right? You can tell that person is disciplined. There you go.
No one got two of them.
There you go. He's disciplined. He's intentional, right? It's just like we've talked about it before, like with the glasses and the hair and all that stuff. It seems so subtle, but people take notice of that. When you walk into a room and you're the most fit person in that room, it kind of puts out like an air of like, I don't want to say dominance, but maybe something like that. And it's extremely important.
Everything about you, God made one of you, right? So everything about you, all the way down to the color of your laces of your shoes, can get noticed and get somebody's attention and make an impact. And I've told this story before, years and years ago when I was still figuring out who Nick Hyder was, but more importantly, what he looked like. How what he looked like influenced and helped build his businesses or his brands. And I did this. I got the opportunity to do this, a little keynote, right? And I had a few minutes, and the room was full of some folks, and I was at the bar, and the two guys that were next to me at the bar were talking about something that I had said. And, so I was like, oh, cool. I get to meet some guys that liked what I said. They looked at me and they talked to me for a minute, and they said, man, did you hear what that guy said up there about this? And at that moment, I just I was kind of taken back, and I looked around the room and I was like, everybody here is wearing a navy or a black suit, just like mine. I look just like everybody else here. I got the same haircut, the same bad fitting suit, all the way from top to bottom. And I thought, well, that's not how you stand out. So immediately I was like, I had to change, right? I had to change. If people that saw me in front of a group of people saw me speak and didn't even recognize me like 20 minutes after the fact, I was wrong. So every little, just like you said, the hair, the glasses, the biggest thing that I was trying to overcome with my appearance changes was I was a baseball player my entire life for the first 27 years of my life. So it took me forever to figure out who I was after that. It, no longer it was sweatpants and, a ball cap, and I was no longer a baseball player. So I needed to quit dressing like one. Right. I wanted people to look at me different. So I had to give them an opportunity to do that, which means I had to change what I saw in the mirror. Right. And I went through some bad phases. I made a lot of mistakes too. There was the Kevin Federline era, the Affliction era. There was a lot of things. I went through a Chuck Taylor era. Still have those though, like those. I wore Toms forever with everything, just because people would notice, like, why are you wearing those shoes? And I'm like, because I bought a pair, and that means a kid gets a pair. Right. And because you noticed, that's why. Yeah. No,
I did the same. I did the same thing. So I was big into basketball too. And I did the same thing. I'd walk around wearing baggy shorts, baggy, t-shirts and all that stuff. And God, you like we've both done it. Like you look back at some of your pictures, it's like, oh my, it's just so cringe.
That's right.
You just look back and it's like, why did I wear that? But you're 100% correct. You need to stand out. And today, sadly, or maybe not sadly, for us, like if you're just fit, if you're in shape, you're going to stand out. And what I was going to say is fitness, being physically fit is the one thing that you can't fake that, right? You can fake a Lambo, you can fake a jet, you can't fake being fit. That only comes one way, and it takes hard work.
Well, speaking of hard work, like we talk a lot about, you hear a lot about a winning mindset and the difference between motivation and discipline, right? So let's talk a little bit about those. Because again, folks, this is the guy that all the people that we know and love and look up to and listen to and read their books and listen to their podcasts and pay to hear them speak. You got access to information and footage, time, none of us get, right? So you obviously are learning a lot, and you can tell by talking to you. Talk to me about what a winning mindset means to you and the difference between motivation and discipline.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a winning mindset. And I believe that whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you say you want, you have to actually want it. You can't just say that you want it. Okay? And what does wanting it mean? To me, wanting it means you're willing to do anything and everything it takes to get it. And it means you're willing to sacrifice anything and everything it takes to get it. Otherwise, you don't really want it. Okay? If you are 30 pounds overweight, and let's say you want to lose, 30 pounds in the next 6 months, or let's say the next 12 months. And let's say you eat at McDonald's 5 days a week. And if I was to tell you, hey,
gross.
Right. If I was to tell you, hey, the only way you can lose 30 pounds in the next 12 months is if you stop eating at McDonald's, and you say, oh, I can't do that. Well, then you don't want to lose 30 pounds, right?
That's right.
What you're saying is that would be nice. It'd be nice if I could lose 30 pounds, but I don't really want to. Okay. If someone told me, Cole, the only way you could become a billionaire is if you don't ever see your kids, you don't spend time with them, you're gone all the time. If that's the only way you can become a billionaire, I would say, well, then I don't want to be a billionaire.
Right.
I don't want that. It'd be nice. Sure. Give me $1 billion. That'd be nice. But I don't really want that. Now, obviously, that's not the only way to become a billionaire, supposedly. But people need to actually want what they say they want. And I think too many times people say they want things because they hear someone else say that that's what they want. So some people need to take the time to sit down with themselves and ask themselves, what do I really, really want? Now, on motivation versus discipline, motivation comes and goes like the wind, right? Don't get me wrong. I love to feel motivated. I can put on a Rocky video or a, E.T. video and I can get motivated. But do you really want to have to do that every day? Do you really want to have to rely on motivation every day to get you going? Because if I'm being honest with you, I'm like rarely motivated. It's crazy. I'm in the gym every day and people tell me I'm motivated. I'm like, dude, I'm not motivated. I don't want to be here at all. You know how many times I get ready to work out and it's just I can't, I'm just staring at my shoes. I don't even want to put them on. But you know what's so stupid is that we know we're going to do it anyway.
That's right.
So why not just do it? Discipline is everything. Discipline is, in my opinion, the key to it all, because more often than not, you're not going to want to do the things that you have to do. The only way to do that is through discipline.
I think that's the definition. I think motivation is what gets you started, and I think discipline is how you achieve success.
That's right. It comes down to your habits. I mean, just like working out, reading, it's you filming your content. It's a habit. It's no different than brushing your teeth. It's just a part of your daily life. You should get to a point where you feel weird if you don't do it.
I just heard a good idea. So I need a camera in the mirror while I'm brushing my teeth, talking. Oh man, I hadn't seen any of those. I think that's going to be a good one. I'm going to do that.
Brushing with Nick.
That's right.
Series 1. We can start a whole series on that.
If the hairdryer wasn't so loud, we could have some good stuff with that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Hitstreak is powered by Team Hyder. Team Hyder has been serving you for 11 years and has racked up over 20 national and local awards for excellence in all areas. When it comes to finding the right health plan, we need to consider your family's needs and your family's budget. That's what we do to serve you. To look further and to book an appointment, visit teamhyder.com.
Well, dude, that's you see folks making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And if you can follow people that way, you can also follow people the right way towards the success. And it's amazing how many people, everybody will say they want what you got. I've interviewed thousands of people, and all of them all say, just like you said, Mingo, they wanted to make 6 figures, but they weren't willing to do what it took to get the 6 figures, which means they don't really want it. They just like the idea of having it.
Right. You got to do the work. There's no way around it. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes consistency. It takes
in anything to be a good husband.
Anything.
Yeah.
You got to block out the noise. I think that's another thing that brings people down as they start listening to the people around them. As we've talked about, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you're around 5 lazy losers, you're probably going to be the 6th lazy loser.
That's right.
If you're around 5 millionaires, you're probably going to be the 6th at some point. Your associations are key, especially if you come from a small town like me. You got to be careful with that, which is why the content that we create is so important. Some of the people that I would consider mentors in my life, I consider you a mentor. I consider a lot of people mentors. A lot of these people are people that I've never even met in real life. They don't even know that they're my mentor, right? But you have to bring that information into your eyes and into your ears to push out that outside world that could be trying to bring you down. Because for whatever reason, anytime, well, I know the reason, but anytime you set out to do something great or outside of the norm, that puts a lot of insecurity on the people around you. And it is showing them that you're moving in a direction and that they're in the same place. So through their own, defense mechanisms, they will try to pull you back, and you got to block that out.
That's powerful. That is powerful. It's, you said something really, really important, and that is that, when you start putting stuff out, content, people start to follow along and get influenced by you. So just like you said, a lot of the mentors that are mentors to you, mentors used to be somebody that it was your coach or your teacher or a role model or a parent, somebody you spent time with. Now mentors are coming in the form of speakers and authors and business owners and everything else, because there's access to their life and what it is that they're doing. So, that was one of the questions I had over here on the phone right here. So obviously a lot of your mentors are probably, I would say you were more attracted to the access you would get to these people than you were to the artistic part of the job, right? As being an athlete, I know that would, we partnered together because, that's also a way that I gain access to some of that information and stuff, because the knowledge that you gain from them, you're going to pass it on to me. So you're a gateway of knowledge from all the people that you look up to. Like that's magnetic, man. It's awesome. You know what I'm saying? So talk to me about the what you learned from your mentors and you're probably very picky about who you follow. And I would say you only work with your mentors.
Yeah.
If they're not your mentors, you probably say no.
Right. Well, it gets to a certain point, especially with social media, where there's so many great people you can follow. There's so many great people you can listen to and take advice from. But I would highly suggest and recommend that you pick 3 to 4, maybe 5 people that you really like. In my opinion, if you're scrolling on social media and you see a video, pick 3 to 5 people where you actually want to watch the video, because again, social media is addictive. I'll be on there, and that's one of the hardest things to do in my line of work is the fact that I'm actually on social media, because I'll go to post a clip for you, and the next thing you know, I'm watching the top 10 dunks of the 2023 NBA Finals. It's like, what am I doing? It's highly addictive.
Yeah.
Okay, and they know that it's addictive.
That's right.
But that's why you need to be on the platforms, is because that's where the eyeballs are at. What was your question?
Well, just the mentors, like you get.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the most powerful things that I've learned from my mentors, the people that I follow, the people that I work with, really is the power of your mind and the power of your thoughts. I think that we all underestimate how powerful our thoughts are. And I think if we all actually understood how powerful our thoughts are, we'd never think a negative thought again. Do you know how many things in my life that have manifested, that have came to fruition, that are thoughts that I had, 5-10 years ago, things that I dreamed about, things that I wanted, and they've all happened. Well, that gets me to thinking man, if I would have worked harder and focused more on that, it could have came quicker. So our thoughts are very powerful, and you have to have that winning mindset.
Absolutely. All of your clients have that winning mindset, but you have a rare perspective in the fact that you can see the impact that the video marketing has had on them, including myself, right? So we can just use me as an example. What's some of the biggest impacts that you've seen that what we're doing together has had on our businesses, the growth of our businesses, and so on and so forth?
Well, we've seen a tremendous impact with, creating your content, especially with the caliber of guests we bring on. I mean, you have some monster players sitting in this chair, and quite frankly, I'm honored to be here to be where some of these people have set. So, another great strategy that we use here that a lot of people use is those collaboration posts, which you get to get access to other people's audiences. So it's really been massive. And when people see you sitting, across, the desk from people like Charlie Chase and, all these people, I mean, that's cool. He sat in this chair, didn't he? That's awesome.
He sure did.
I love that guy. It's just powerful. And when you can bring on those high caliber guests like that, it just adds more credibility to you.
Absolutely. Outside of just like needing to work with you folks, you need to check him out on Instagram. It's at Mr. Cole Thurman. And seriously, if your DMs is some of the best way on Instagram, some of the best ways to access you, right? Because you're on those platforms all the time. You're a strategic partner of the team here at the Hit Lab, right? So all of the Hit Lab's clients have direct access to you and your knowledge and everything else. And it's pretty cool because that's how we kind of got started. Was when we built this studio, people started saying, "Hey, Nick, this is a really cool room. Can we use it?" And then all of a sudden, I was like, "Man, we might have a business here. I think we do." And because we can help other people do the same thing. And then they started seeing the clips, and it was like, "Hey, man, how do we get clips that look like that?" And it was like, "Well, hey, Cole, I got people that want to come in." I love the power of affiliate marketing. Like that was one of the biggest changes in my wife and I's success is when we figured out how to utilize that. You get a big network, you have a big audience. Man, like you can do a lot of good things for a lot of great brands with your audience by tying those two things together and introducing them together, right? Much like Ryan Reynolds has done with the media company that he bought, and what it's done to those other big companies that he has, like those Mint Mobile commercials we've all seen over and over again. They're great at making ads. Cole Thurman's great at making ads, right? And so they can access you directly through the Hit Lab, right?
That's right. Hey, shoot me a DM. Shoot the Hit Lab a DM. And I'll be happy to talk to you.
Is there any other gold nuggets about you, the business, digital marketing, being a dad, anything else that you'd want to leave folks with? Because every time a new client comes on, you've got to figure out a new way. Your capacity just rose, and you've got to figure out a new way to deliver the same experience. For me, no matter what, all your clients, no matter how big you get, I expect the same experience, and you've been amazing at giving me that, right? So what are some final gold nuggets you could leave for our audience today?
Well, what I would say is, as I mentioned earlier, you're either growing or you're dying. There's no such thing as standing in the middle. And one thing that I love about working with you and Jim and the rest of the crew here is we're all going in a direction. Okay, we're all very intentional about where we're going. And getting to that next level takes doing some deep work. And what I would say is to get to know yourself. That might sound weird, but get to know yourself. Get to know who you are. Take some time and think about that, and then be good to yourself. If you were to monitor the average person's self-talk, most people are extremely mean to themselves. Now, I think you should be hard on yourself, but not mean to yourself. I'm very hard on myself, and I'm assuming that you are as well because we have standards.
Oh, yeah.
I know that you're hard on your boy, but you're not mean to him. There's a difference. So have those standards, be good to yourself, take care of yourself, whether it's, just like with fitness, I think that's a form of taking care of yourself. I think that's a form of self-love. Keep the promises that you make to yourself. Because I think a lot of the reason that people almost sabotage their success, which is something that I could write a book on as well, is that they deep down don't believe that they deserve it.
That's right.
So in order for you to feel like you deserve it, you have to start taking those tiny action steps each and every day to prove to yourself that you're worth it. And one of the biggest things in that is simply keeping the promises you make to yourself and to other people. You say you're going to get up at 6 and work out, get up at 6 and work out. Don't make agreements that you can't keep. Okay. But be good to yourself.
Tim Corbin, Coach Tim Corbin, I should say, has a quote we love around here that are rules are for people who can't follow directions. Standards are for people who inspire to do great things. And, another thing that we say around here a lot is that the person that you're the most uniquely qualified to help is the person that you used to be, which is why it's so important to tell your story. Like, folks, if you wanted to, I've never written a book before, and if I was writing a book right now, I would want to seek somebody to help me do that. What are the steps necessary to get the book written, to publish it, to get it out to the market? I would do the same thing as a songwriter. If I wrote a song, I probably wouldn't try and record it myself at home and then pitch it to a record label. I would probably want somebody to professionally demo it and let me know, like, can you make me introductions? Is there what do I do next? How do I not mess this up? What's the right and proper way to do this? You can provide that for people, right? Give them an opportunity to tell their story, which is to help other people, and save them a lot of headache along the way, right?
Yes, and I think that people underestimate their story. I think a lot of people think that I don't have a good story, when your story quite literally could change someone's life. We were talking before you got here earlier today. I put something out on Instagram a while back, and I was at the grocery store here in my hometown, and some guy came up to me. He's like, "Hey man, I saw that story put on Instagram." He's like, "That changed my life." And I'm like shopping, like putting stuff in my cart. I was like, "What?" Like I didn't even think about it. But don't underestimate the power of your story, because we all have a story. I mean, and I'll just tell you here, don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but I watched some of your content where you're talking about your wife and your marriage and all that stuff. And quite honestly, it like brings me to tears sometimes, because it touches me so much. So your story is very powerful, Nick, as well.
Appreciate that.
The Hit Streak is powered by RAC Financial. When it comes to your credit card merchant processing, RAC Financial is efficient, reliable, and trusted. At the end of the day, when it comes to processing your credit card payments, they make it simple, the way it's supposed to be. Check out RAC Financial.
A lot of times people will wonder, like you said it multiple times earlier, you need to get started yesterday. Like you're kind of late to the game getting going, right? So like anytime a new platform comes out, they always reward the people that get on there first the most, but like wait is a 4-letter word, okay? And we don't like to use those around here. Well, maybe we do a little bit, but not too much. But the biggest mistake people make when their physical health is they wait until something bad happens to decide to eat clean. They wait until they become a diabetic or have a heart attack or a stroke to decide, I got to eat well. A doctor told me to. You can make good decisions on your own before those bad things happen, and you don't have to wait until your business is in such bad a shape that you have to market when it's the hardest. Like, make that decision to start right now.
Right. They say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today, right? Unfortunately, people wait until it's too late, just because our human nature, man, we just like to be comfortable. We don't like to rock the boat. We don't like to get uncomfortable. And here's another thing I think all the time is I think about success, and, we talk about all the time, success is hard and failure is hard. So pick your hard. And I agree with that. But then I get to thinking, like, is it really that hard? And I think it's just more uncomfortable than it is hard,
right?
Because human beings just love that comfort zone. We just love to sit there. And as we talked about, it's not about how you feel. It's just about doing the work. And it's just about putting in the time and the consistency.
It's a great way to bring this sucker to a close right there, man. That was awesome. Well, brother, as I knew you would, you killed it today. Can't thank you for making the trip to Nashville, old Nash Vegas, to hang with us today. Folks, we're hanging with Cole Thurman, the founder of Real Branding. And look, the best way to get in touch with him today is either through the Hit Lab or through Instagram. DM him at Mr. Cole Thurman, ColeThurman. Is how you spell that sucker, right? Cole, any last words?
Last words. Go out there, do your best. As we talked about earlier, be a good person. At the end of the day, if you watch the news, if you are on social media, you might think the world's burning down. Heck, maybe it is. I don't know. But all you can control is, as you talk about, is your attitude and your actions. Control your world, because that's the only thing you can control.
Absolutely.
Be that beam of light. Okay. When I walk into a room, I want to impact the energy in that room. Okay. When I leave that room, I want people to, feel that presence, and not because I want to be Mr. Cool Guy or something like that, because I truly want to do good for people. I want to do good for the world, and every single action that you take is either doing something good or something bad. What we talked about earlier. If you make a promise to yourself and you don't keep it, even though you're the only one that knows it, that's damaging you. That's damaging one person out of 7 billion, which technically makes the world a little bit of a worse place. So do what you can do to do your part. If everyone just did their part, we'd live in a beautiful world. At the end of the day, sometimes I think there's like light shooting out of my body. I just feel so, I feel I have a very good perspective on life. And I'm a little bit of an introvert, but I do enjoy people. I love talking to people, and there's nothing better than leaving a positive impact and helping someone. And we talked about it earlier. You're most apt to help the person that you used to previously be. And I love helping people that were where I used to be and pulling them up as well. Be a good person.
Bam. Cole Thurman, folks, the founder of Real Branding, on Instagram at Mr. Cole Thurman. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of The Hit Streak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.